So here is the difference between inertial frame of reference and non-inertial frame of reference. So what is inertial frame of reference? A frame which is at rest or moving with uniform velocity. So in this frame, a point is fixed as the origin of coordinate system. So all the physical quantities like position, displacement, acceleration, velocity, speed, all these are measured or described in terms of this coordinate system. So for example, an observer in a train may choose train as a frame of reference for his observation. So a frame in which an observer is situated and makes his observation is known as his frame of reference. So you can take an observer who is sitting in a train and he can choose train as his frame of reference. So there's an observer who is standing in the platform. So now this observer on the ground may choose a frame of reference attached to the ground for his observation. So from the ground he is looking what is happening with the train, whether the train is at rest or train is moving, or whether the another train is coming. So if train is moving, in what velocity or with what acceleration this train is moving. So all this observation can be made by an observer who is standing on the ground, and he can take the frame of reference as a ground. So with respect to ground, he is telling that train is moving. So if he sits in the train and observe what is happening around the things which are there in a train, then he can say all the people who are sitting in the train are rest, or all the objects which are kept in the train are rest, because he has considered moving train as his frame of reference. So with that moving train, if you observe the things which are there in a train, then you can tell these things will be at rest. So this kinds of frames are known as the inertial frames. So an object inside a moving train appears to be at rest for the person inside the train, while for a person on the ground, this object appears to be moving. So in other words, or if I put it in a different sentences, I can say an object moving or an object inside a moving train appears to be at rest with respect to the frame attached to the train, but it appears to be moving with respect to the frame attached to the ground. So here in this you can see Newton's laws of motion holds good. So Newton's first law of motion is also called as law of inertia. So the frame of reference in which Newton's first law is valid is called inertial frame of reference. So when Newton's laws of motion holds good, then that reference is known as inertial frame of reference. So in an inertial frame of reference, a body continues to be in its state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight line as long as no external force acts on it, because you can see the Newton's first law is also known as law of inertia. So what does inertia tell us? So inertia says that, so if there is an object which is at rest, so this object will always remains at rest until and unless there is a force which is acting on it. So if net force on a object which is at rest or a moving body is zero, then the state of that object will remains the same, that will not change. So now here you can see non-inertial frame of reference. So what is non-inertial frame? A frame that moves with a uniform acceleration. So these a frame in which Newton's first law of motion does not holds good, or Newton's first law of motion is not valid, is called as non-inertial frame of references. So like frames of reference moving with acceleration with respect to an inertial frame or non-inertial frame of reference, those are known as non-inertial frame of reference. Thus this non-inertial frame may be either a frame having linear acceleration or frame which is rotating. So if a frame is rotating, then you can say that is non-inertial frame of reference. So if frame is rotating, then you can call it as non-inertial frame of reference. So now if you take Earth as a example. So Earth is rotating about its own axis. So if this is Earth, so Earth is rotating about its own axis. So this is not rotating. So Earth is rotating about its own axis. So what is the direction of the Earth rotation? So it is in, let's suppose it is in anti-clockwise direction. So now if this Earth is moving, then what will this Earth possess? So since it has got uniform motion, then we can say there is a centripetal force. So if there is a centripetal force due to rotation, then the frame of reference attached to the Earth is non-inertial for astronomical observation. So if you take Earth as a frame of reference for your astronomical observation, then you can say it as non-inertial frame of reference. But like if you do few experiments in a laboratory scale, the frame of reference attached to the Earth is approximately inertial frame of reference. So there's one more thing that you have to understand for inertial frame of reference and non-inertial frame of reference is, so if you measure a force in an inertial frame of reference or in a non-inertial frame of reference, so there will be difference in the measured quantity. So in an inertial frame of reference, so the force measured is equals to force actually applied on the body. So the force measured will be actually equal to applied force, that is applied on the body. So what that means? So in the inertial frame, so if you measure the physical quantity force, so let's suppose here you have a block A. So now, so if you measure how much force is acting upon this block, then this force will be equal to the force which is actually applied on the body. So let's suppose you apply a force of 10 Newton on this block A, then if you do the measurement and if you measure the force acting on the block, then you end up getting force is equals to 10 Newton only. So that is in case of an inertial frame of reference. So force acting on an object is same when measured in two inertial frame of reference. So for example, so if you take the example, so the weight of a person measured in a stationary lift or in a lift moving with uniform velocity. Then this weight will be same. So this is the example for this non-inertial frame of reference. So here you are measuring the weight of the person in a stationary lift. So when lift is at rest, so in that lift you are measuring what is the weight of the person. So now what will happen? So you will also measure the weight of the person when the lift is moving with a uniform velocity. So in these two cases, the weight of a person comes to be same. So weight of a person in a stationary lift will be equals to weight of a person which is moving with uniform velocity. So this is not a formula, I have just written to make sure that you understand what is this statement. So this is not a formula, don't take this as serious. So the weight of a person measured in a stationary lift is equal to the weight of the person who is moving in a uniform velocity in the lift. So these two magnitude will be same. What is weight? Weight is mass into acceleration. So if you measure the weight in an inertial frame of reference, so that means if the lift is stationary and if the lift is in uniform velocity, then the weight of this person will comes to be same. But in non-inertial frame, so what will happen? So this is for inertial frame of reference. So here we have one more in non-inertial frame. So the force measured is different from the force actually applied on a body. The force measured is different from the force actually applied on the body. So in inertial frame of reference, what we understood, a force measured is equal to the force that is actually applied on the body. But in non-inertial frame, there will be variation in the force that is measured and in the force that is actually applied on the body. So in this case, apart from this actual force, there will be one more force or additional force which appears to act on the body. Because of that, there will be variation in the measured value and the actual value. So this additional imaginary force on the object is called fictitious force. Or this is also known as pseudo force. So what is this? This is an imaginary additional force which acts on the object when it is in the non-inertial frame of reference. So hence they are known as pseudo force or fictitious force. Pseudo means false force. So why does this force appears? So this force appears because of this frame which is accelerating. So this non-inertial frame of reference is an accelerating frame of reference. So if this frame is accelerating, then there appears a pseudo force. So for example, when a lift is moving downwards, so if let us take this as a lift. So this lift is moving downwards. So what will happen? So if this lift is moving downwards with some acceleration A, So weight of a person appears to be smaller than the actual weight. So let's suppose the person's weight is person's actual weight be capital W. So now if you measure this person's weight who is standing in a lift, and this lift is moving downwards with acceleration A, then the weight of this person appears to be smaller than the actual weight. So small w will be smaller than capital W. So what is small w? Small w is weight of the person when the lift is moving downwards. So weight of a person when lift is moving downward. So that is denoted by small w, or you can also write it as W prime. So W prime will be less than W. So why is that so? Because this lift is moving downwards with an acceleration. Because of that, weight of a person appears to be smaller than actual weight. So now let us consider another example. So again we have a lift. So when lift moves upward with an acceleration A prime, so here we took a acceleration A, let us take here acceleration as A prime and here acceleration as A double prime. So when lift moves upward with acceleration A double prime, then weight appears to be greater than the actual weight. So this weight W double prime will appears to be greater than actual weight. So when lift is moving upward. Here lift is moving downward. So what is W prime? Weight of a person when lift is moving upward. So you might have observed or you might have experienced. So if you are moving downward in a lift, then you feel kind of weightlessness. So that is because of this pseudo force or a non-inertial frame of reference. So when lift moves upward, so you feel heavy because so there again appears the pseudo force. So similarly, when brakes are applied to a moving bus, the passengers are pushed forward by an imaginary force. So when moving car takes a sharp turn, the passengers are pushed outward with an imaginary force that is known as centrifugal force. So there are basically two kinds of force, centripetal force and centrifugal force. So we have understood centripetal acceleration in our previous lectures. So here there is a centrifugal force which is a pseudo force. Now this is for the non-inertial frame of reference. So next let us try to learn the momentum. So this again comes in Newton's first law. So momentum is what? So for a body of mass m and with a velocity v, we define momentum p as product of mass and velocity. So this momentum is a vector quantity. So now let us take the example and try to understand what is momentum. So momentum is a common experience that a moving body has a capacity to impact motion to those bodies with which it collides. So let's suppose, for example, so you have a bicycle and a motor car. So now these two, the bicycle and the motor car, let us take they are moving with the same velocity. So now if you go and collide with the car and if you go and collide with the bicycle, so which effect will be more? So obviously the effect of collision which is from the car will be more compared to the effect of collision which is from the bicycle. So that is because the momentum. Similarly, if two motor cars of equal mass, so you have two motor cars so car 1 and car 2 which has got a same mass. So moving with different velocities. So let this as velocity v1 and this as velocity v2. So m1 is equals to m2, but v1 is not equal to v2. So you have two cars which have same mass, but they are moving with different velocities. The effect of collision with a given body will be greater in case of a car which is moving faster. So let's suppose if this car is moving faster compared to this car, then the effect from this car will be greater in comparison from the effect of the car 1. So this property of moving body which depends on mass and velocity is called momentum. So this quantity was also called quantity of motion by Newton, but now lately it has been called as momentum. So momentum, the momentum of a moving body is defined as the capacity of the body for imparting velocity to another body, and it is measured as the product of the mass of the body and its velocity. So this momentum is denoted by P. P is what? Product of mass into velocity. This momentum is a vector quantity. P is a vector quantity. So what is P? P is momentum. So since it is a vector quantity, you should write an arrow mark on top of it. So at SI unit for momentum is kg meters per second. Why? Because mass is measured in kg, velocity is meters per second. So SI unit for P will be kg meters per second. So dimensional formula will be what? Dimensional formula is equals to mLt minus 1. Why? Because m is for kg, this L is for m, t is for second, and this S is per second, hence t will also be powered by minus 1. So what is momentum? Momentum is a product of mass of the body and the velocity of the body. So momentum of a body is defined as the capacity of a body for imparting velocity to another body, and it is measured as a product of mass of the body and its velocity. So if you feel in difficulty to learn this definition, you can also write momentum as the product of mass of the body and the velocity of the body. So momentum is a vector quantity. SI unit for momentum is kg meters per second, and the dimensional formula for momentum is mLT power minus 1. So with this, let us wind up the Newton's first law and let us move to the Newton's second law. So here we are. So let us learn Newton's second law of motion. So these are the three laws of motion. So first, Newton's first law of motion we learned. So what it says, every body continues to be remain in its state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight line unless it is acted by an external force to change that state. So the statement for the second law of Newton is the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the force acting on it and takes place in the direction of force. So learn the statements for the Newton's first law, second law and the third law. So these statements are important, and also learn what is physics behind these three laws. So what it is telling? So the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the force acting on it, and it takes place in the direction of force. Here we are talking about the momentum. So we understood what is momentum. Momentum is mass into velocity. So if there is a rate of change of momentum, then this rate of change of momentum will be directly proportional to force acting on it. So let's suppose the Newton's second law of motion provides a method for measuring a force. So from this law, you can actually measure what is the force which is acting on the body. So when a force acts on a body, it changes the velocity of the body. So whenever there is a force on a body, obviously there will be change in the velocity of the body. So if force is acting in the direction of motion, then the momentum increases. So let's suppose this body is moving with a velocity, let's suppose 10 meters per second in the east direction. So if you apply a force in this direction, then this body will get increased its momentum. So momentum increases. So why this momentum increases? Because this force is acting in the direction of the motion of the body. Hence momentum increases. So if this force acts in the opposite direction of the motion of the body, so this again 10 meters per second. So if this force is in opposite direction with respect to the motion of the body, then momentum decreases. So this is what the Newton's second law. So according to Newton's second law, change in momentum per unit time is directly proportional to the force applied on it, and it takes place in the direction of the force. So now let us try to understand the expression for force. Expression for force. So now consider a body which is moving with velocity v. So its momentum will be given by what? P is equals to mv. So this is the momentum of the body. So now let a force F acting on the body for time interval delta t, so then it changes velocity from v to v plus delta v. So when this change occurs, so this change occurs in a time interval delta t. So the momentum of the body will also change. So delta p will be equals to what? M delta v. So now let us write the rate of change of momentum. So that will be written as what? Delta p divided by delta t. So momentum here is changing with respect to time. So rate of change of momentum is delta p by delta t. So according to Newton's second law, what we can write? Rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to F. So if you remove this proportionality constant, what you will get? Delta P by delta T is equals to Kf. So K here is what? K is proportionality constant. So later we'll find what is the value of this K. So what we got? F is equals to K delta. So let us write this proportionality constant to the left hand side such that we can get the proper equation for force. So now if limit delta t tends to 0, then what will happen? So limit delta t tends to 0, delta p by delta t will be equals to what? dp by dt. So that means F is equals to K dp by dt. Let us call this as equation number 1. Now for a body of fixed mass, then you can write momentum. So for body of mass m, so dp by dt can be written as d by dt of m multiplied by v. So this is what we have learnt. P is equals to m into v. So P is a vector quantity. So don't forget to put this arrow mark. So here also we have to put the arrow mark. Right. then dp by dt is equals to what? D by dt of m into v. So m here is constant. What is changing is velocity of the body, because we have said the body of mass m, so m remains same. So d by dt of velocity. So we know that rate of change of velocity will give us acceleration. M is equal m into a. So this is force. Force is equals to m into a. So why we have written a? Because we know that dv by dt is equals to a. A here is what? Acceleration of the body. A is equals to acceleration of the body. So with this we can write. So if you substitute this here, what will you get? You will get F is equals to K into MA. So this is equation number 2. So in our next class, let us try to understand what will be the value of K and what is this equation. So for now, let us stop this derivation. So we'll continue this derivation in the next class.